Aisha Nelson made several 911 calls begging for help, saying her life was in danger. Just hours later, police say Nelson and her daughter were dead.
Regional dispatch.
Hi, I have a question.
That's how it started. 31-year-old Aisha Nelson called 911 on June 22, 2022, asking how to file a police report. Her boyfriend had just threatened to kill her. He had a gun. Her gun. The one she purchased for protection.
He do have possession of a gun that I purchased. He did take it. And I didn't make a big fuss about it, but since he threatened my life, he had the means to do it.
She would call 911 3 times that night. 3 separate calls, begging for help, saying her life was in danger. When officers finally showed up at 1:50 in the morning, Aisha told them about the gun, his threats, and that her boyfriend Dante Hawes had been convicted of beating his ex-girlfriend, the mother of his child. She also mentioned to them that she was scared. But then she said something interesting. I don't want him arrested. And when the officers suggested she leave, they told her about shelters. And when they pleaded with her to get her daughter to safety, she refused. She said since she paid rent there, she wasn't going to let him run her out of the house. She was staying. Less than an hour after those officers left, Aisha Nelson and her 6-year-old daughter Harper were dead. And you can definitely guess who shot them. Her boyfriend, Dante, the same man who had just threatened to kill her. Now, Aisha's family is suing the police department, saying the officers should have arrested Dante, taken the gun, and forced Aisha to leave. So the question here is, when a man threatens your life with a gun, when he's convicted of domestic violence, when police offer you a way out and you refuse, who is really responsible for what happened next? Before we get too deep, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you find value in these discussions. Aisha Nelson was a Navy veteran. Born and raised in Newark, New Jersey by her grandmother, she graduated from Central High School in 2009 and joined the military shortly after. The Navy gave her discipline, structure, purpose. But as much as she loved serving her country, she loved being a mother more. Her daughter, Harper Monroe, was 6 years old, energetic, fun-loving, the center of Aisha's world. Family members say Aisha would do anything for that little girl. She frequently relocated to provide Harper with better opportunities, better schools, a better life. Aisha had an identical twin sister, Angela. They were born 1 minute apart and were inseparable. Angela would later describe her sister as humble, intelligent, kind, the type of woman who went out of her way to make sure everyone around her was comfortable and happy. Maybe that's why she gave Dante Hawes a chance, even when the red flags were everywhere. Aisha met Dante while serving in the Navy. 31 years old, went by his middle name, Dante, instead of his legal name, Waverly Hawes. They were friends first, 13 years of friendship before they became a couple. And when things got serious, Aisha made a decision that would change everything. She left New Jersey, left her family, left her support system, packed up her life and her daughter, and moved to Dayton, Ohio to be with him. Dante's father owned multiple properties in Dayton, 4 or 5 houses on the same block. He gave his son one of those houses to live in rent-free and financially supported him. Dante had a 9-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, and she would be living with them too. But when Aisha got to Dayton, she realized Dante was not who she thought he was. The man she knew in the military, disciplined and motivated, had disappeared. In his place was someone who spent his days playing video games. He had no job, no ambition, and no drive to do anything with his life. His father paid for everything, so Dante felt no need to work or contribute. He was lazy, spoiled, and content to do nothing, while Aisha paid the rent on the house his father owned. All Dante wanted was to stay home and play video games, while his father and his girlfriend paid for everything.
Come on now. Me and my Dayton, this catching big dubs, 14 piece. That's what I do.
After a few months with him, Aisha discovered that Dante had a violent past. He had been arrested and convicted of domestic violence against his daughter's mother. He had beaten her. This discovery should have sent her running back to New Jersey, but Aisha stayed. She believed in second chances and that people could change. She saw something in Dante that she thought was worth saving. She had no idea that compassion would cost her everything. The arguments got worse, more frequent, more heated. Dante started to show Aisha who he really was. The violence that had sent his ex-girlfriend running was starting to surface again. June 22nd, 2022 started like any other day. Dante was playing video games, Aisha was frustrated, and then another argument started. But this particular argument was different. At some point during the argument, Dante went to the closet and grabbed her gun. It was a gun Aisha had purchased for home protection after someone shot up the entire block the previous year looking for Dante's cousin. Now that gun was in Dante's hand, and he was pointing it at her. "You're going to get out of my house," he told her. "Are you really willing to lose your life over a gun? Are you really trying to provoke me?" Aisha called 911 for the first time just before 5:30 p.m.
Regional dispatch.
Hi, I have a question. He do have possession of a gun that I purchased. He did take it, and I didn't make a big fuss about it. But since he threatened my life, he has the means to do it.
The dispatcher told her she could go to a nearby police station to file a report. He reminded her there were local shelters where she could stay for safety. But Aisha didn't want to go to a police station or a shelter. She wanted to stay in the house she had been paying rent on. Hours passed, and the situation didn't improve. It got worse. Dante kept following her around the house, threatening her, asking her when she was going to leave. All of this in front of Harper, her daughter, and in front of his daughter too. Just after midnight on June 23rd, Aisha called 911 for the second time. She asked for an officer to meet her at the Family Dollar store near the house. She didn't want police coming to the house because Dante's family owned properties all over the block. Even his grandmother lived next door. So she didn't want to upset him by escalating the situation with the presence of police.
I don't want him arrested. I just want to make a report, just in case anything does happen, because I'm going to protect myself.
The dispatcher said she would send an officer to Family Dollar. Aisha sat in her car with 6-year-old Harper, waiting. 20 minutes passed, and no officer came. She called 911 again, her third call, because she saw several police cars rushing to a different scene.
I do know that they all went to a call. As far as how long it may be that they're on that call, I don't know because I just don't have any details.
Aisha told the dispatcher she couldn't keep waiting in the car with her daughter. It was the middle of the night. She would make the report in the morning. She asked the dispatcher to have officers call her if they could meet with her, and she planned to go back to the house.
You guys have my calls recorded. I don't know what else to do. I do realize that Dayton does have a short of police officers, but I just don't want them to show up at the house.
Right.
I don't want to upset him.
I will go ahead and let them know that. Okay.
That was Aisha's last 911 call. But the story doesn't end there, because at 1:30 in the morning, someone else called 911. It was Dante Hawes.
My girlfriend in here acting crazy and blew up the house. I just wanted to get out the house. I don't want no problems.
And that's when police finally responded. Not to Aisha's 3 calls for help, but to his call claiming she was the problem. Officers Terrell Moore and Catherine Santos arrived at 337 Burleigh Avenue at 1:50 a.m. on June 23rd. They encountered Aisha on the front porch, and inside the house, Dante was waiting. And you can imagine how both of their daughters must have been terrified through all of this. What happened next was captured on body camera footage. And when you listen to this conversation, you'll understand why this case has torn the internet apart.
Hello.
Hi.
Did you call?
I did, but I did say that I didn't want any police to come to my house.
Okay. Well, I called your phone. You didn't answer.
I didn't get a phone.
Well, I can show you where I called it. But
Basically last night we had what I thought was a small argument, and He was like, "Get the out! I can't wait for you to leave."
Hello.
Hey, I called you, and she just locked me in the basement.
You talk to her, I'll talk to you.
I didn't lock him in the basement, but okay. His dad owns this house, that house, a house across the street, and a house down the street, I believe. He went in the closet and grabbed the gun. So he was like, "You're gonna get out my house." So I was like, okay. Like, just okay. Like now at this point, he got the gun in his hand. So I let things calm down like an hour, and I was like, "Are you gonna give me my gun? Like, I don't care what you do with it, but you need to put it down. Like, give me my gun." So he was like, my gun is registered in my name now. We got it right after.
So where is it now?
He has it. He has it downstairs in the basement.
Well, since we're talking about guns, do you mind just keeping hands on your pocket? Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So last night, he had the gun in his hand. He came back upstairs like, we just started arguing. And he was like, "You'll get the out of here. I'll get my sisters and everybody to beat you up." And I was like, "You're not going to do nothing." And he was like, "Matter of fact, get out." I said, "You can't put me out. I can't right here." So he was like, "You really willing to lose your life over a gun? Like, seriously? Like, you really trying to provoke me?" Like, so today, we didn't talk much. Before he left, he was like, "When are you getting out of the house?" I said, "I'm not leaving. I made up my mind." Because last night I was going to leave me at a hotel. He cut my credit cards off. He was like, "When you leave me, I'm going to give me those credit cards." I said, "You're not getting nothing. I paid the balance on him." Like, because his balance, he was, his credit cards was maxed out. I ran into some money. I paid the balance on both of them. He got into some legal trouble, had to pay a lawyer, pay to get his bike out, had to pay bond and everything else. So that's that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not leaving because you're not going to leave me with nothing. So that was that. Today, he said, "When are you getting out?" So I'm not getting out. You made it to where I can't get a credit card. I'm at to where I can't go get a hotel. I'm not getting out. So I called the police earlier, like at about 5 or 6 o'clock, and I told them, last night he made the threat. I told him, like, I wanted to see the police, but I did tell him that I had concerns because his family live on this block. I wanted it to be a little more discreet. I didn't mind y'all talking to him, but I just didn't want all of them in my business. And I didn't want to upset him and irritate the situation. So I spoke with somebody from dispatch. He told me that the police stations are closed. And I just was like, okay, I'll make the report either tonight or in the morning when I go out. And that was that. I expressed all of my concerns to the dispatcher. He was like, okay, but we have this call. That was that. I called about an hour ago, and I went up to Family Dollar. I let them know he threatened me again, and I got that one on video, him threatening me. Like, it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. You're going to get the out. Like, I'm telling you, what did he say? You're gonna get out, or you're gonna have to suffer the alternative, or something like that. And I mean, again, also, the reason why I do take it a little seriously is because he had domestic issues with his daughter's mother, where he was convicted of beating her, and so for him to talk so loosely in front of my daughter, I don't want to take it seriously because we've been friends for so long, but I do. Because, he didn't start doing any of this until after he grabbed the gun. And this is the second, he said 2 times, asked me, am I willing to lose my life? And I don't like that. I don't like that.
Aisha was insistent about not leaving the house with nothing. She said she had no friends or family in the area.
I guess my question is, what is it that you'd like us to do? Because you're saying you don't want him in trouble. You don't want to break up. You don't want to leave.
We're not together. That's done. Like, that's it. I genuinely do care. And I just, I don't like to see nobody go through the system, even the people that deserve it, honestly, because it's a terrible thing. And he's been through that. If he gets locked up for domestic violence or a protection order against him yet again, there won't be the same leniency he had the last time. Like, he got 2 assault charges he was convicted of on law enforcement and his daughter's mother.
When the officers stepped away from the house, they discussed between them the circumstances and the possibility of charging Dante.
I just don't see how this is a situation where she believes it. I mean, she's saying she believes it's a genuine threat, but if that's the case, why are you still here? Why are you putting yourself in this situation?
The officers came back to Aisha. They had made their decision. They couldn't arrest Dante because there was no visible evidence of assault, no injuries, and no property damage they could see. Aisha herself said she didn't want him arrested. So they did what they thought would keep everyone safe for the night. Dante would stay in the basement. Aisha would stay upstairs with Harper. They would separate them, let things cool down, and everyone could figure it out in the morning. The officers left at 2:50 a.m. without taking the gun or filing a report. They left believing they had diffused the situation, but they were wrong. Around 3 a.m., less than an hour after Officers Moore and Santos drove away from 337 Burleigh Avenue, Dante Hawes went upstairs with the gun. He found Aisha and Harper, and he shot them, both of them, multiple times. A 31-year-old mother and her 6-year-old daughter, dead. Then Dante gathered up his 9-year-old daughter, the one he shared with his ex-girlfriend, and he put her in the car. He drove her to one of his father's other properties and dropped her off with relatives, and then he ran. The next morning, June 23rd at 11:45 a.m., Dayton police received a call for a welfare check at 337 Burleigh Avenue. Dante's father had called, frantic. His son had phoned him earlier saying he'd shot his girlfriend multiple times during an argument, and after that call, no one could reach anyone at the house.
Regional dispatch.
I need somebody to come over and do a wellness check.
Do you think something happened?
I'm not sure. I just opened the door and just screamed everybody's name. No one's answering. My granddaughter said the police were here last night, so that's why I'm worried.
Officers arrived just before noon, and in the basement they found Aisha and Harper. Both shot multiple times. Both dead.
It's not common that a welfare check results in this type of situation.
Dayton Police Major Jason Hall told reporters.
We are in the initial stages. Once again, that will be part of the investigation into what had occurred in this tragic incident.
The search for Dante Hawes began immediately. Police checked his known addresses, contacted family members, tracked his phone, and then they got word from Alabama. Falkville, Alabama, about 250 miles south of Dayton. Officers found a vehicle, and inside was Dante Hawes, dead. After he closed the curtains on himself, the same gun he'd used to kill Aisha and Harper was still in the car with him. He had murdered the woman who loved him, murdered her 6-year-old child, dropped off his own daughter so she wouldn't see what he'd done, and then driven to another state to end himself. But as the investigation continued, detectives discovered the 911 records, and they realized that Aisha had called for help 3 times. 3 separate calls in less than 12 hours, telling police she was afraid, Dante had threatened her, and that he had a gun. And when officers finally responded, it wasn't to her calls, it was to his call, claiming she was the problem.
Aisha Nelson made several 911 calls begging for help, saying her life was in danger. Just hours later, police say Nelson and her daughter were dead.
The Professional Standards Bureau immediately launched an internal investigation into Officers Moore and Santos. What did they know? What should they have done? Why didn't they file a report? Why didn't they take the gun? Why didn't they arrest anyone?
So she wasn't removed from the home or anything like that. They were both left. They were both there when the officers left.
That is correct.
Did they know there were weapons in the home?
It's my knowledge, yes.
Is there anything that you think that your officers at this point should have done differently?
Well, I think that's what we're going to do is, till when the review is done, we'll see. We'll know more about how the call was handled and probably learn more from that review.
But the officers were not placed on administrative leave. They continued working while the investigation proceeded, and that enraged Aisha's family. 4 months later, Aisha's mother, Keely Nelson, and her daughter, Tangia, spoke publicly for the first time. The pain was visible on their faces, and the anger they felt about how the police handled the situation was unmistakable.
All I know is that my daughter and my granddaughter were killed. That's it. They were shot. I know nothing else.
Keely had been calling the Dayton Police Department repeatedly, asking for answers, asking for clarity about what led up to her daughter and granddaughter's murders. No one was calling her back.
I hold the officers accountable.
Yes.
Because if they would have did a better job with judgment, all 3 of them would be here. They didn't do their job. And now Aisha and Harper are gone. It's about to be 4 months. They're no longer with us because police failed to protect them.
After only 30 minutes of talking to Aisha, and Mr. Hawes' officers made no decisions and simply left the location, leaving Aisha with no hope, no help, and no humanity.
Wright pointed out that according to Dayton Police Department policy, officers responding to domestic violence calls must take written statements. They must conduct thorough risk assessments and investigate threats of violence. Officers Moore and Santos did none of these things.
These officers made no report. They recorded no written statements. And what we do know when they left that location, we know that they knew that there was a gun in the home, which Aisha had identified and informed them on multiple occasions that Mr. Hawes had threatened her with it.
The family hired attorney Michael Wright, and he was also visibly furious. And the question Wright kept asking was,
there was a firearm in the house. Why didn't they at least remove the firearm?
What is clear from the policies of this particular police department in Dayton is that while they have a policy for domestic violence investigation, is that they don't take it seriously. There's no way that these officers were appropriately trained on this particular policy, because if they were, Keely and Harper would still be here.
The family filed a lawsuit against the city of Dayton, the Dayton Police Department, and officers Terrell Moore and Catherine Santos. They were seeking justice for Aisha and Harper. They wanted accountability. And they wanted those officers fired, not just suspended. They want the entire department retrained on how to handle domestic violence cases.
This family, as a result of filing this lawsuit, wants justice in this case. We want accountability of these officers, we want accountability of the Dayton Police Department.
But when that body camera footage went public and people heard the entire conversation between Aisha and those officers, when they heard her refuse to leave, refuse to go to a shelter, refuse to let them arrest Dante, the reaction was not what the family expected.
She obviously doesn't believe it. She doesn't believe it, or she would not still be here, sitting in the same house with her kid.
That was one of the officer's comments to her partner, and thousands of people agreed with her. A lot of people felt like Aisha had been warned, given options. She had been offered shelter, resources, and she refused all of it because she didn't want to leave a house she'd been paying rent on, didn't want Dante to get in trouble again, and Harper paid the price for her mother's decision. But Aisha's family had a different story to tell. After the internal investigation concluded, Dayton Police Department released their findings. Officers Terrell Moore and Catherine Santos were found to have violated department policy. They failed to file a report and to conduct a proper risk assessment. They failed to follow protocol for domestic violence calls, and their punishment was a 160-hour suspension, 30 working days, written reprimands, and they were required to attend additional domestic violence training. But then, they kept their jobs. For Aisha's family, the suspension wasn't enough. It would never be enough, because 30 days off work doesn't bring back a daughter and granddaughter. It doesn't fill the hole in their lives. It doesn't stop the nightmares about what Aisha and Harper went through in those final moments. Keely Nelson, Aisha's mother, stood before cameras and spoke about a pain no parent should ever know.
That weighs on us. I can't even explain it. Just to know that I no longer have my daughter or my granddaughter here, because I feel as though it was negligence. It could have been prevented, but it wasn't. So now we're here, and it's unacceptable. The holidays were so hard for me to get through. Me and my family has been going through it, and it touched everybody. She has a twin sister. And it's very hard for her. She has an identical twin. And I think that she will never be the same. She has a missing piece of her. So yes, we do. We need justice. Because I wouldn't want nobody else to have to go through this. And Harper was a loving, we're not even doing Christmas. We cannot do Christmas. We can't celebrate any holidays right now. But I just ask that we just get what we deserve and nobody else have to go through this.
Angela, Aisha's twin sister, spoke about the unbearable grief of losing half of herself.
I really get stuck sometimes. Like, I can't believe that my sister is not here. And then me being her twin sister is like, I'm just broken.
While Aisha's family blamed the police, while they say officers Moore and Santos should have done more, people were asking, what more could the officers have done when Aisha herself refused every option they gave her? The truth is that Aisha Nelson was not some naive young girl. She was 31 years old, a Navy veteran, disciplined and intelligent. She had served her country and definitely knew how to assess danger. But she also knew Dante Hawes for 13 years. They had been friends long before they were a couple. She had seen him at his best in the military. She believed he could change, and maybe, just maybe, she thought she could be the one to help him change. You can tell she had a lot of compassion towards him. Misplaced compassion, but compassion nonetheless. Aisha also knew that if Dante got arrested again and got another domestic violence conviction, he would face serious time. His first conviction had been lenient. A second one wouldn't be. She didn't want to destroy his life and didn't want his daughter to grow up without a father. She genuinely cared about what happened to him. I don't think she was being stupid. I believe she had empathy. Dangerous empathy, but empathy nonetheless. You can also tell there were serious financial problems in that home, especially because Aisha had to pay for everything. People say she should have just left. Why care about rent when your life is in immediate danger? Your life is worth more than money. And they're right, but I don't believe that Aisha was only thinking about rent. She mentioned that Dante had cleaned out her bank account and cut up her credit cards. She had paid his legal fees, his bail, his lawyer, and gotten his motorcycle out of impound. She had nothing left, and her family was in New Jersey, so how was she supposed to get there? How was she supposed to start over with a 6-year-old and $0? Yes, there were shelters. Yes, the officers told her about resources. But I can imagine she felt like she didn't want to have to pack up her life and her child's life and go sleep in a room with strangers, sharing bathrooms, following curfews, having no privacy, no independence, not knowing when or if you'll ever get out. For some women, the idea of this terrifies them. Others feel like it is a sign of weakness or admitting defeat. Aisha was proud, stubborn, and as a Navy veteran, maybe she thought she could tough this one out too. She was wrong. Tragically, fatally wrong.
She's saying she believes it's a genuine threat, but why, if that's the case, why are you still here? Why are you putting yourself in this situation?
I honestly feel like if officers Moore and Santos had taken that gun, Aisha and Harper would still be alive. Dante might have found another way to hurt them eventually, but not that night. That gun was the weapon, and the officers knew it was there. They knew Dante had threatened Aisha with it, and they left it in his possession. That is the failure. Not that they couldn't save Aisha from herself, but that they didn't save her from him. 6 months after Aisha and Harper were killed, Keely Nelson sat down for a video interview. She wanted to tell her daughter's story. She wanted people to understand who Aisha really was and to defend her daughter against what people were saying about this sad case.
My name is Keely Nelson. I am Aisha Nelson, mother, and Harper Monroe grandmother. We all are from Newark, New Jersey, born and raised. The reason why I'm actually doing this is to bring awareness to Aisha and Harper. Aisha and Harper were murdered on June the 23rd of 2022 by her boyfriend, who was killed by Dante Hawes, who then drove to Alabama and himself. Aisha was a wonderful mother. She was a wonderful human being. She adored her daughter. That was her light. That was her life. It's hard to actually sit here and do this, to speak up on this situation, because it truly touches my heart. It's something that no matter what the situation is or whichever way it may have went, you would never want anyone to endure the pain and suffering of losing a child and a grandchild, no matter what it is. And we lost 3 people. We lost him as well. But it's something that I want to address to the public, that they do not know the full aspect of the story. But the most hurtful thing about it is the way that it was done, the neglect that was done to all 3 parties, not just myself, but also on Dante's part as well. It was all a cry for help. But in this situation, no one wins. We all lose. You know, I lose, his family lose. And if I must say, you know, it was a neglect that was done on both ends. It's a lot of ifs, shouldas, couldas, wouldas. But we're here today, and this is what is happening. I know my daughter, she was a fighter. You know, she would want to stand up for what is right. And it actually been a year now since all of this has taken place. And it's taken a lot out of me to sit here and do this. I contemplated over and over again on what would be the right thing to say. How do you address the people? What do you say? There's no right or wrong to this. When I'm speaking to you right now, this is something that's coming from me, that I'm speaking authentically to you. As a mother, as a sister, as a cousin, as a friend. We don't know when we're going to be in these situations. But one thing that I do know, Asia will want her voice heard. Her daughter as well. She called out to the police. She cried for help. Some people say, I see some heartbreaking things that be said about this situation. You know, oh, she should have left. She was the reason why her daughter's not here. Those things are hurtful. They hurt. You know, I ask myself, you know, why didn't she just leave? I do. I leave. Come. You know, come. You have a family here. But I also say, how often do our loved ones, a mate, you get into an argument with someone, you know, and they be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. We take it lightly. You know, we do. Oh, he's just upset. They're just mad. She's saying this. But in all actuality, it's really happened. For someone that she known for 13 years. 13 years. He was her friend first before he was actually her boyfriend. He wasn't even he was her boyfriend shorter time than he was her boyfriend, you know? And she knew the story behind him. And that's the reason why, you know, she didn't want him arrested. She knew that what was, you know, going to happen. But at the same time, you know, she wanted to document it because that's who Asia was. Asia was the type of strong, independent, you know, woman and mother. I'm going to make sure that everything that I do is correct. I'm going to dot my I's and cross my T's. And in this situation, that's what she did. I never thought that I would be sitting here, you know, and it's God's doing and it's God's will. I never thought that I would have the strength to be able to sit here and talk about losing a child. You know, and Asia is a twin. She has an identical twin. Yeah. Yeah, she has an identical twin, Angela. And they're 1 minute apart. It has really hurt my family. I used to say, if anything happened to my children, they might as well just roll me over and bury me with them. Them were my plans. But God had other plans for me. I'm sitting here and everybody say, you be so strong. You so strong. But it's not me. This is God. Trust me, it's God. If I had it my way, I would roll over in the corner and just ball up. But I'm a fighter. Just like my baby was. She was a fighter. And everything that I'm doing is for her and my granddaughter. Harper was a light. She was a special light in Asia's eyes. If you only knew what kind of mother that she was to her baby, you would understand. I hear cool things. She got her baby killed. She didn't. She didn't. If she ever thought that that would happen, she'd have died and went to hell first. To hear and see all the cruel things that people say, put yourself in them shoes. Be a mother. Be a father that lost his daughter. Yeah, we are human. We make mistakes. But this is a mistake that could have been prevented. She called the police 3 times. If she believed that he really was going to do this, how would she still stay? That's what the officer said.
The fact that she's so, she obviously doesn't believe it. She doesn't believe it, or she would not still be here, sitting in the same house with her kid. Like,
why would she stay? That's a question that we'll never know. That was a judgment call that was reckless. If they would have removed that gun, not myself, not Harper's family and her dad, my family, Dante's family, we wouldn't be here today. They both were in the Navy. You know, they actually met in the Navy. And we all been in relationships. We know how things can go. We have arguments. But when you love someone, you don't want to cause hurt. But it's sad to point blame at someone because they love someone and they didn't believe that they would really hurt them that way. But that's what happens. And now we're here. And now all I could do is just continue to fight for justice. For Asia, for Harper, for all the ones that's been going through this. One thing that we do and all can say is we can't help who we fall in love with. And we don't know what kind of deep, dark spirits that other people are dealing with. And we try to help them. And that's what Asia was doing. If she would have said, hey, lock him up, take him to jail, she would have been an angry black woman. But because she knew the circumstances and the things he had been through, hey, it's my friend. He's going through something right now, but I still have to protect myself. And that's all she wanted to do was protect herself and her daughter. And I dare y'all to assassinate her character because she was someone that you did not know. And when y'all say these things and do these things, you have to remember she has a family that loved her unconditionally. She stood for something a lot and she fell for little. So that's why I have to get this message and these messages and her story out there. Because what did the officer say? Well, if she believed, she did believe. You just didn't. You just didn't. No one wins in this situation. Who's to blame? Are we right to actually blame a victim and tell a story that we really don't know everything about? It's not it. Dig deep down. And you think I asked those questions? Why didn't she call? Why didn't she do this? Why didn't she do that? Because she thought that the person that she cared about and she loved was just going through the moment. You in a whole nother state. It's you and your baby. You want to go to a shelter? It's a lot of questions and answers that need to be addressed. But I'll leave you with this. We will address them. This is not the last that we will hear from Aisha and Harper. It's my duty. It's my right. It's my justice. It's their justice. I am their voice. I'm their voice. I am their voice. And they must be heard. They must be heard. The truth will be revealed. So, I leave here with God's blessings. It's not over. It's more to go on. This isn't the last what you will hear about Aisha and Harper. So I thank you, and God bless all of you who will tune in and all the heartfelt concerns, memories, and acknowledgement. And I thank you from the Nelson family. God bless you.
The lawsuit against the city of Dayton is still ongoing. The family is seeking damages, policy changes, accountability. They want Officers Moore and Santos fired. They want the entire Dayton Police Department retrained on domestic violence protocols. They want Aisha and Harper's deaths to mean something, to change something, to prevent the next tragedy. Whether they'll succeed remains to be seen. What hurts me so much about this story is that Aisha Nelson was a human being. Flawed, yes. Stubborn, yes. But also loving, compassionate, hopeful. She believed in second chances. She believed people could change and that she could tough out one more night and figure things out in the morning. And now she and her beautiful daughter are both gone. Dante Hawes took 2 innocent lives before ending it all. He left behind devastated families on both sides. 3 people dead, multiple lives destroyed, 1 preventable tragedy. Could Aisha have made better choices? Yes. Should she have grabbed Harper and run the moment Dante pulled that gun? Absolutely. Should she have gone to a shelter, called her family, begged them to send money for a bus ticket back to New Jersey? Without question. But should she have had to? Should a woman who pays rent on a house have to flee in the middle of the night because her boyfriend is threatening her? Should a Navy veteran who served her country have to sleep in a shelter because a man with a violent criminal history has decided to terrorize her? And more importantly, when police officers respond to a domestic violence call, when they know there's a gun in the house, when they know the man has been convicted of beating his previous girlfriend, when they know the woman feels unsafe, shouldn't they do more than just tell the parties to stay on separate floors and hope for the best? Those are the questions this case forces us to ask, and there are no easy answers. For the public watching this case unfold, there are lessons about domestic violence, the complexity of leaving an abuser, and about the fine line between victim blaming and holding people accountable for their choices, about the responsibility law enforcement has to protect people, even when they won't protect themselves. This is why I have decided to put out a new book that will be released soon, premiering first on this channel, teaching women how to identify abusive patterns and how to successfully leave a DV relationship. Back to today's case. The lawsuit continues. The debate continues. The pain continues. And somewhere, Keely Nelson is still fighting for her daughter and granddaughter, still being their voice, still demanding that their deaths mean something. We hope a good resolution to this matter is reached soon. Our sincere condolences to the friends and families of Aisha Nelson and Harper Monroe. May their memory be a blessing for their family and for all who knew them. And may their lives and deaths inspire change, increased protection for domestic abuse survivors, and policies that save the next Aisha, the next Harper. Rest in peace, Aisha Nelson and Harper Monroe. You deserved better. You deserved life. So that's it for today's video. Stay safe out there, and I hope these stories help you recognize warning signs and encourage you to seek help or offer support before it's too late. I'll see you in the next episode of Crime of Passion. Thank you for watching.